Good morning. Good morning, B.
Good morning, Mama. Great morning to you. How's it
Thank
going today?
you. It's going great. It's going great. I'm trying to do this and got my coffee. I just noticed I'm kind of looking weird because I was trying to just hold on to my coffee so I could take a sip. But all is going good. I just got the Instagram set up for you. So
Awesome.
all
Thank you
is
so
going
much.
well.
Awesome. Welcome
So
everybody to the 106th day of the In This Season podcast with me, your co-host, and the beautiful main host sipping her coffee over there, the butterfly with her name on the mug. As soon as I said butterfly, your mug came up and it said butterfly. Thank y'all for joining
well,
us
all
today.
right.
This is right. This is another installment where we go through Dennis Kimbro's daily motivations for African American success. If you haven't gotten the book, make sure that you do. You definitely want to do that. It will add value. It will add inspiration and motivation to your life. Just like it's done for us. It's a book like we always that follows us around, that we have befriended, and it seems to have befriended us. So thank you all for joining us for another reading of a daily passage from Dennis Kimbro's book. If you haven't been here before, I'm going to give you a brief outline of what that book entails and what a little description of the book and what its purpose is, and then we'll you for the rest of your day. Anything from you, Mom?
You are good? Everything's good on Instagram?
Yep, everything's good. Looks like we're live and ready to go. I was making a post this morning or yesterday this morning. I was like, maybe I shouldn't do that. They're gonna ban me. so we're gonna have to figure out a good way to temper that, and maybe moving a lot of things over, or having something where we have a little bit more sovereignty to and freedom of speech. But thank you nonetheless to everybody that's joining us today for the 106th installment of the In This Season podcast. Let me read a quick description of this book. Yeah, you got something?
Miss Brenda's out there. She says, "Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday."
What up,
So,
Miss Brenda?
what up, Miss Brenda? Miss what up?
It's a
Let's
different
rock
kind of
with
day
it,
for me
Brenda.
today. I skipped the coffee and I got tea. I got some hot tea today.
Got you some hot tea today.
So yeah, I get some coffee after. I wanted to make sure I hydrate. So I'm trying to be big on hydration. I got tea and
Well,
I'm gonna
good
get
for
hydrated. I got
you.
some training to do today. Yeah, trying to do well. You know, first thing I do in the morning is usually stuff my face with a couple cups of coffee, and that dehydrates you a little bit. Then I go out there and train in the morning and train again at night. My boy Kelvin is in the Instagram. He said, "What up, Gator and Mama?" What's up, Kelvin? Good to see you, bro. Good to see you. I appreciate you coming on and participating.
Hey, Kevin.
Man, we might have to pull you in sometime, Kelvin. Give me 1 second. Let me get off of this Wi-Fi just to make sure that nobody. Um,
This is a plate.
oh, yeah, make sure nobody misses a
Yeah,
play. Is that how we gonna say it? I like that. I like that.
that nobody
All
misses a
right,
plate.
cool. That. Yeah,
Yeah.
appreciate you showing up, Kelvin. Man, I know you up early, probably getting to work or doing something. Appreciate you rocking with us, man. And a couple more people are coming in through the chat room, the live video. So if you're on YouTube live, thank you. If you're on Facebook live, thank you. We got Kelvin on the Instagram live and a couple more people coming through. So thank y'all again for joining us. About this book, Kelvin, get the book, man. Get the book if you can. Daily Motivations for African American Success will help you focus on the thoughts, attitudes, and deeds that will lead to the achievement of your true goals. And 365 short, powerful motivations, one for each day of the year. Dennis Kimbro, author of the popular Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice, leads us to discover how to use the present moment and our own gifts to transcend labels, cultivate a positive attitude, become wise enough to know when to say yes and when to say no, and to look inward for answers to life's challenges. So each motivation begins with words of wisdom from such distinguished and celebrated African Americans as Malcolm X, Marion Wright Elderman, Whoopi Goldberg, Charlene Hunter Galt, Bill Cosby, Carl Rowan, Mother Hale, Reverend Leon Sullivan, and hundreds of others. This treasure trove of practical inspiration will give you fresh encouragement every day of the year, but what it teaches will last you a lifetime. And a quote from Dennis Kimbro says that every thought which enters our mind, every word that we utter, and every deed we perform makes its impression on the innermost fiber of our being. So what cloth, this is my own part on it, what cloth are you cut from, right? What cloth are you cut from, right? People say, oh, I'm cut from a different cloth. Is it a better cloth? Is it a worse cloth? Is it a strong cloth? Is it a weak cloth? Let's see what kind of cloth you are. You there to keep people warm, or are you keeping them cool? What you got? You got some fire, you got some ice. What type of fiber is your innermost being made of? That's the question. All right. So let's jump right into it, Mom. You got anything? Any more people coming through? You want to wait a little bit, or you want to jump right into
No,
it?
let's walk into it. Let's walk into it. I got a full day today, so I need to get my plate and go.
Man, you and me both. I want a plate. I want some sweet tea. I'm gonna take maybe 2 plates. I'm gonna need a lunch too. So we say that, y'all, because
Dessert, dessert.
this is the proverbial cookout, y'all. Like, so this is our daily cookout every single morning. It's a little early, for some people, but that's because the people who are successful wake up early. They get after it. The early bird gets the worm, right? So wake up early, start your day, stay motivated, look for inspiration, find affirmations, and repeat them every single day until your mind transforms, until you change for the better. You know what you need to do. People usually ask advice, but they already know what they should do, what they want to do, and what they're gonna do. Right? Most times people already know. In your innermost fiber, in your innermost self, in your subconscious, you know exactly what you're gonna do. Right? So let's change that subconscious mind
Yeah.
for the better.
Brandon, I had someone come up to me yesterday and say, she says, I love what you say. It is what it is. Let it do what it do, but don't let it do you. And guess what? She is not of my race,
Hey, yeah. Hey.
right? So, as this book says on the back, man, it's going to take all of us to reverse the fortunes. That's an interesting word to put there, the fortunes of race, and it is character. So that's putting it back on us. And that's why we say this cookout is for everybody, everybody, everybody. Because, whew, let me stop because I need to get out of here. Let me just stop right there. But I had somebody, I had a Caucasian woman come up to me and say that. Didn't ask
Hey.
for it. That was her greeting. That was her hello to me.
Mm,
So think about what that's building and what that did. And it was so interesting because we were getting ready to the place was closed and open until 5, so we was kind of waiting outside to go in for dinner. And we get in there and we're all kind of pondering, what are we going to eat, what are we going to eat. And so finally, you know me, Brandon, I like concocting some stuff together, right? So I'd ask them, can they
a la
do
carte.
something different? Yeah, different for me. Like I just, and she was like, I'll have to ask. And the lady who said, said those words to me, she was like, I was sitting over here wondering if they could do the same thing. So she and I ate the same thing, but we created a meal. She was wanting the
Wow.
same thing, you know, and it's just like-minded people, you guys.
Yeah, yeah.
Like-minded people is your gasoline for your car.
I'll I'll say, like even the back of this book where it says if there's any power that can reverse the fortunes of race, it's character. I don't think that only applies to African Americans,
Oh, right, right.
right? Like if we really think about the history of African Americans in America before we jump into this, it especially if you look at some of the more painful parts of our history, that history is twofold, right? Yeah, we suffered physically, we as a people with slavery, but do you know and we had mental trauma and things like that, but think about how the heart of white individuals suffered. To bring your children to a picnic where they picked a nigga picnic, right? And they hung someone from trees, burned them, chopped off their limbs, and then gave them to people for memorabilia to hang on their mantles. These are human beings, and you see pictures of children there. Some of them looking aghast, some of them looking like, okay, this is what we're supposed to do. But imagine the corruption on those people's hearts,
Mhm.
right? Imagine the generational demons that have been passed on. Imagine
Mhm.
the the spirits in high places, that like the bad spirits in high places that really impact those families. Imagine that, because that's traumatic too. You know what I mean? Even though it looks like you're in a position of power, really you're oppressing and transgressing yourself and wronging yourself, right? You're wronging your children by giving them this legacy of hatred, this legacy of disparity, this legacy of oppression and tyranny. So like we weren't the only ones that suffered, you know. And now you have white guilt, you have white fragility, you have people living in privilege and pretentiousness. So I mean, there's a lot of ills that have come as a product of those misdeeds of their forefathers, and we are all intertwined into the same struggle, into the same story in America. And I'll tell you one thing about America: we better figure out that we all American quick, right?
Yeah.
Because if you go to China, you go to wherever, those people, they're all Chinese. They're all this, they're all that. They might have different political factions, but at the end of the day, they're all Chinese. Han, or you know, there's like one or two different, but at the end of the day, they're all Chinese, right? But here in America, we'll be like, oh, I'm this, oh, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that. We separate ourselves so much to where we're very easily conquered. Why? Because we're so divided amongst ourselves, you know. And that's how the people and the powers that be control us, because we are divided. It's very easy to pick off the flock when everybody is going in their own direction. But once we figure out that we are the people, that our quote unquote government, that our quote unquote society is made up of us, and we actually have the power, we can say yes and we can say no, and our no can mean no and our yes can mean yes, like it says in the back of the book. Okay, when to say no and when to say yes. All right.
Hey,
So without
Brandon, I can't. You took me somewhere, and I'll be really quick. Ruby Bridges, I think that's her name, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Ruby Bridges. I remember the story where she tells about the young Caucasian kid says, "My mom, I can't play with you. My mom says I can't play with you." You know, imagine the people that were outside, the parents that were
Oh,
outside
because
the
why they
school,
couldn't play with them because of
because
race?
that was when, yeah, Ruby. I'm sorry, I'm just assuming that everybody knows what
Right, right.
know who Ruby Bridges is. She was the first black child to integrate in an all white school, and we were talking about her a few weeks ago. Miss Brenda remembered her name as well, but um, she talks about hearing the parents outside of the window, picking, just being awful. So imagine the children who were sitting in there. And you also made me think about not what they seen by way of you know the bad things they seen done to black people, and then there were some of them who were invited in their homes to take care of them, to be nannies to them.
That breastfed them.
Right, yeah, just
Think
yeah,
about
like
like
think about
my
the mind.
grandmothers and great grandmothers who, like my grandmother took care of white children,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And they,
Hmm.
some of them people still call from what I understood for years and years, will come up to her and call her like a mother figure. So it's like imagine the cognitive dissonance that's created,
That's the word,
right?
yes.
And then you think about like you have to subjugate the woman that breastfed you, a black woman that breastfed you. You got to go out and look at other women of color, um, both in a maternal sense, because you have that impression as a child, but also in a derogatory sense, and how that can really corrupt your it can corrupt your masculinity and your attention to femininity and how you treat women. It can corrupt your relationships. It can make you violent sexually. You know what I mean? Like there's all types of cognitive dissonances that are created from these foundations of hate, um, and disparity and suffering and chattel slavery that reverberate, to this day. So let's not be a ripple effect of that. And the only way, like it says in the back of this book, to change the fortunes of the social construct of what we call race in America, because prior to America, there was no such thing as what race are you. But before the social construct of race, let's try to deconstruct that in whatever way that we can, right? To where humanity is what rises to the top, because that's all that there ever was. Everything else was just delusion, right? All right. So let's jump right into it, y'all. Today's May 16th. The title is Know When to Say When. Know when to say when. Right there at the bottom of your screen, right there. I can read that. All right. And oh wow. The quote, Mom, that's
I was
crazy.
wondering if you had seen all of this. Okay.
Nah,
Have you? So you've not read today's? You've not read
nah,
today's?
nah, nah. No, but
You're
I
gonna
was
be
I have a
so.
I have a poem in my head that I've been writing for a while, and
Mhm.
I keep rewriting. You know, I write mostly everything in my head, and so I was rewriting it yesterday actually while I was mowing the lawn, and it's called Enough is Enough. I was actually thinking about performing it on Friday at an open mic, of a Free Palestine uh, open mic. So that's just interesting that the title is enough because that was the title of the poem. But anyway, that's crazy. See, like I said, y'all, this book is following us around. It's meeting me at places that I didn't even know that I was going. So it's like, all right, what's going on, God? I see you. All right. But Know When to Say When is the title. And the quote from Fannie Lou Hamer who's a civil rights activist, if you guys didn't know. The quote is, enough is enough. Enough is enough. And the passage goes, I recently read the story of a little boy who went with his mother to the toy department of a store. A big sign read, children are not allowed to play with the toys. Ignoring the sign, the little boy climbed on the hobby horse and began to rock back and forth. His mother said, come on, darling, you must get down. You cannot play with the toys. He pushed her away and held on to the neck of the horse, even though his mother scolded and tugged at him. Finally, a clerk approached and said, sorry, but the sign says, no children allowed on toys. The boy ignored him and the clerk. In turn, uh, called the assistant manager. Oh, okay, that's it. The boy ignored him, and the clerk in turn called the assistant manager, who grabbed the boy's arm and repeated, Sonny, you're not allowed to play with the toys. The boy pushed him away too. Sound like somebody need a butt whoop. Soon, a manager came over and in a pleasant tone of voice said, Sonny, if everybody began to play with these toys, they would soon be broken and we could not sell them. The little boy hung on tighter. Finally, a tough, burly old man who had been watching the entire scene approached the frustrated motivators and said, let me talk to him. He went over and whispered something in the boy's ear. Immediately, the child jumped off the horse and said, okay, mama, let's go home. Surprised, the mother asked, what did that man say to you? And the youngster replied, he told me, you get off the horse or I'll spank you. As you chase your dream, it's wise to remember some things just aren't worth the risk, such as your health and well-being. It is always smart to constantly assess your position. And the affirmation that we read 3 times, one for me, one for you, and one for the person that I know and trust that you're going to send this to and invite them to tomorrow. The affirmation is, I know when to say yes and when to say no. What the hell? Come on, man. Sorry, I don't mean. Come on, man.
I was wondering if you had read it because you mentioned that,
What?
this is the first day that you've mentioned yes and no. And I said, I wonder, did he read it?
I'm done. I'm done for the
I
day.
read
It's
it
gonna
this
be my.
morning. So you
I read
done
it
for the
one
day?
time. No, I got 2 more times to read it, and
Oh,
I'm fine.
okay. Okay.
It's crazy. All right. I know when to say yes and when to say no. All right. And last time, so I can go and revel in my astonishment. I know when to say yes and when to say no. Enough is enough. So what you think about this one?
So quick for me, because I love that part. Knowing when to say yes and when to say no is so
Oh,
important. Go ahead.
one more thing before I start.
Okay. Okay.
Weren't we just talking about this yesterday or the day before yesterday? about great grandma being in the store and telling that lady?
That's one of the ones I was going to bring up. That's
Oh,
what
okay.
I was like, when I read it this morning, I was like, that's grandma's story. I can
Yeah.
imagine her, because that's exactly what she did. She just waited for a while. She just stood there and looked. And finally, she just said, and it's interesting because we were talking about also, and that day and time, you could do that. Oh, elderly people could do that, right? Without it being in today's world, somebody would probably be ready to fight any one of those people that came up, including the elderly person. A
Mm-hmm.
parent probably would have been, had a desire, don't touch my child. My child can do what he wants to do, all right. But I thought about my grandmother in that store saying, now I'll tell you what he needs. He needs an ass whooping. You know, I'm gonna tell you what he needs, right? And so you can almost imagine the elderly, and it says tough, burly old man, right? Tough. I can imagine him in that child's ear. Get your ass off that, you know,
Yeah,
you know.
he probably said something a little bit
Yeah,
more,
yeah.
right?
You get off right now, or I'm going. And imagine that. And then the little boy says, "Okay, mom, let's go home. Let's go home." Right. So it's not only about knowing when to say yes and when to say no, how to say it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you got to be stern sometimes. I was having a conversation, and she might be on here, but I'm gonna tell. Um, sometimes we are, let me say this in a different way. Sometimes we are so trying to be something, right? Outside of ourselves, something that we've not quite, um, I'm, I'm trying to say this in a tactful way, you guys. And I don't want to say goody two shoes, but we act as if we're not human sometimes. And we take things from people because we think we're supposed to be this pushover kind of Christian person. And my thing again, like I told my neighbor, no, you did right for standing up for yourself. God is probably saying, finally, because we can't be pushovers. You can't serve God and be a pushover. That somebody can just push you over and do whatever they want to you because you don't know how to say yes. Your yes means no, and your no means yes. You say yes to the things you want to say no to, and then you go home and you have this internal fight and battle with yourself because you know that you let somebody just piss all over you,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you just stood there and just drank it. Then you wipe it out. Just rub it in like lotion. And then you go home and try to wash it off and realize, it sticks, right? So you got
Mm-hmm.
to soak. And so that's the same with I know when to say yes and when to say no. Internalize this. Do you know when to say yes and when to say no? And do you know, but then you have issues with doing it because you are trying to impress upon a people that you don't
Cognitive
even like,
dissonance.
right? That you don't even like and don't like you. So you're saying yes to something rather than going home and getting some rest. You're saying yes to impress upon a people while you have not impressed yourself. They've not impressed themselves. So what do you have? What do you have?
You're at a
Some
loss.
mutts, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this one's quick, easy. It says constantly assess your position. It's always smart to constantly assess your position. What is your position? What is it? What is it? All right, Brandon. That's it. Unless you say something to make me talk.
Nah, nah. So, um, enough is enough. Knowing when enough is enough. And I think assessing the last line here, it is always smart. I'll start where you left off. It's always smart to constantly assess your position. And I think that goes for every person inside of this story, whether it be the child. They used to say, stay in a child's place,
Mm-hmm.
right? We don't hear that much anymore, right? Because everybody thinks, oh, children are human beings. Yeah, they're human beings, but like we have a job to do with them, not just as parents, but as a community, right? As a society. And the position of his mama, right? Who has every right to snatch that little boy up and put hands on him. Truth be told, I don't care whatever your government says or whatever. Like, You have the right. If you want to spank your kid, spank your kid. That's not abuse. That's natural. You see it in the animal kingdom. You let that little monkey go over and do something crazy. Mama monkey gonna get him. And if not, big gorilla gonna come through and settle all of the affairs, right? So this is natural. And I think we're missing out on the accountability measure, but I'll get to that in a second. The position of the manager, right? It's his position to protect the inventory of that store and the employee, right? So everybody is giving up a little bit of the sovereignty of their position. And I see that happen so much in our community, right? Like, for example, I'll tell you what, let's take, we were talking about police the other day. And we will see one officer, two officers I've seen on videos assaulting young black women, foot on their back, knee on their neck, twisting their arm, and you got a whole bunch of let me not say it. You got a whole bunch of men, black men, around
watching,
filming, not even just watching, but trying to get it on film. I like to say, you punk cowards, right? Because at the end of the day, that's your sister. That's your mother, right? And so I understand that there's fear that's associated, but it's 10 of y'all. You know what I mean? And then even afterward, if you are filming, are you doing it for evidence? Are you doing it for World Star, right? A lot of times they're doing it selfishly to get likes, to upload it and say, look what I saw. I was there. You know? I saw a man get killed a month and a half ago. Right? I have the film from that situation. Did I share it on social media? No. Right? I tried to resuscitate that man. I tried to help him. Right? And he died in front of his daughter, in front of his family. It would be disrespectful, in my opinion, to upload that. Why? Because I know my position, and my position is one of dignity. Right? His life deserves dignity. Their suffering deserves space, deserves privacy, right? So that's my position, and I play my role. So in every situation, you got to know who you are. You got to know your position, and you got to play your role. And if you don't, you're not only doing yourself a disservice, but you're degenerating the rest of society. That's what we say, people call it degenerates. You're a degenerate, right? Some people say that's why they call us descendants of Adam. You know what I mean? Because each time it's less and less and less. And what I'm asking is that know your position and play your role, right? So that goes for every single person. Grandma's calling me right now. I don't know why. Grandma, I'll call you back. I don't know. She know we got the show. Like it ain't 7:30, but I'm gonna hit her back. Mom, you on mute, by the way. But I'll hit up Grandma. Grandma, if you listen to this, text me if it's an emergency, baby. And also, so yeah, always assess your position. So it's not advantageous, right? Imagine if these police officers, let's use that same example, knew that we ain't going. I saw in Arizona where a group of white men did not let the feds come search their compound. They stood out with their guns drawn like, hey, you come over here, we're gonna have a problem. And if y'all risking our lives, just know that you bleed the same blood. You don't bleed blue, right? And none of those individuals went to jail. None of them. I watched it. Them cops were scared as all get out. Why? Because bullies love and feed off of your fear. But if you come together as a people, as a unit, you're a unified front, right? I agree with peaceful protests. I agree with those. But as soon as authorities make it not peaceful, it ain't peaceful no more with me. I'm sorry. That's just the way that I am, because I know my position as a man, and I'm a man before I'm a citizen. right? And so I feel like we have these extreme cases of violence. We have these lone wolves and lone attackers, right? Because people get to a point where they say enough is enough. Nobody's
Mhm.
doing anything about it. So you have people, that go do something crazy, like self-emulate them. We had the guy, the military guy that put himself on fire in protest, right? About some atrocities that are going on in Gaza and that are going on in Philistine. And that wasn't even the first one. I didn't even hear about the young lady in Atlanta. But what we're seeing is that dissent has no path in today's modern society. When you don't agree with something, or something is going awry, we don't have things in place on a community basis, on a familial basis, even inside of our homes, right? We can see somebody doing crazy and nobody wants to call them out on it. I salute my wife, who over the past weekend brought up an issue to her family that wasn't popular among them to talk about, but it was something that needed to be said. And I think they all grew from it. So don't have one of those families and be one of those people that are hesitant to have the tough conversations. Why don't you start leaning into that conflict? Because truly that uncomfortability is your growth. And you not leaning into that conflict not only impedes you from growing, but it stops the other people that you say you love, that you say you care for, that you say you want the best for. It stops them from growing. Now imagine if this old man had not come up to this little boy, right? How would he be enabled? What would he think? How privileged would he be? How pretentious? How inconsiderate would he be to
Mhm.
be raised to consider himself? I just pushed away all these adults, all
Yes.
these elders that have been telling me that I need to do this, right? To obey the law, I guess, in a sense. And I just pushed them away. You're raising a criminal. You're giving him positive you're giving him like what do you call it? Not positive stimulus, but you're giving him positive reinforcement to be a little a-hole. And let's just keep it 1,000, right? Let's not mince words anymore. Because what's the quote, Mom? Between what is
What is said and not meant, and what is meant but not said, relationships are lost.
lives are lost, relationships
Mhm.
are lost, opportunities are lost, hearts
Yeah.
are lost,
Yeah.
minds are
Right.
lost.
Because imagine, Brandon, this young boy climbing somewhere or, being somewhere that could really get him hurt.
Exactly. Like you you
And
you you bring that same energy to the hood somewhere and you say, "Oh no, I'm not doing this. I'm gonna sit on your car, bro. You're gonna get. Come
yeah,
on, man."
yeah,
Exactly, Mom. I agree.
yeah. It's like and we're going to get off of here. It's like when I was working in Fort Walton Beach, Florida at a school, Montessori school. This grandfather, and I've shared this, I know, with you and on Butterfly Evolution, but this grandfather, he took care of his little granddaughter, right? His little
Mm,
great granddaughter would bring her to school every day, and she was so polite. She would listen to him, and he explained, because we had a conversation about how mannerable she is and was for everybody. He said, I tell her that my yes means yes and my no means no. He said, because if I don't, imagine if we're in a parking lot somewhere and I know I can see a car coming and she's running from me, and
mm,
I tell her to stop, then she knows that she better stop because I said so. Because if she doesn't, she could get hit by that car.
exactly.
And imagine, because children, they play, they will do that. So, and that's okay. You're not taking that away from them, but we do have to make sure that they know, no, that when I say stop, stop, because you don't know what I'm keeping you from, but you do know you are supposed to do what I say, period. So
Exactly.
enough
I
is
actually
enough.
use that same reference with my children. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. I
I
remember
like
you told
stop.
me that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you say stop, you mean stop. We'll figure
Yeah.
everything else out later if you need to know. Yeah. So
Exactly.
enough is enough, right? I like what you said about know your position and play your position. I really liked that as well.
Yeah. Life is a team sport, but you die. You're born alone and you die alone. But it's a team sport.
Yeah.
You know. We're all in
Teams,
this
you have
together.
different positions, but everybody trains together, but they know their position and they play their position,
Exactly.
right? So,
Yep. Know your
all
role, play
right.
your role. But that's
Yep.
all I got for today. We can keep this short and sweet,
Yeah.
and get on out. I had a lot more, I think, inside of this, but I want you guys to go back and read this and tease this out yourself. Look at this. Look at some of the. There's a couple other things in here that I noticed. A couple more takeaways, but I'm gonna keep that. I'm gonna keep that for me. I'm gonna just give y'all the light pack today because I think it's heavy enough for us to just know that enough is enough. When is enough enough? Know when to say yes. Know when to say no. Um, Figure out what your role is, what your position is in every situation. And here's something that helps me. And I learned this from Jeremiah, Mom. So Jeremiah is my best friend, and he's actually the brother that first introduced Islam to me, right? In Knoxville. I kind of harassed him to teach me about this faith, and I remember seeing him from a place that he couldn't see me out of a window, and he was coming to my house. He was coming to my apartment. He went up to my door, and he was about to knock, and he stopped. He bowed his head, he raised his hands, put him down, and then he knocked. And I looked like, what kind of hex is he? I didn't know what he was doing. And so when he came in, I said, bro, I was looking at you outside. I was about to say what's up to you because I had the window down, but I saw that you was praying or something. What was you doing? He said, man, I was purifying my intention before I entered your home.
Mm.
He said, I was making a supplication to God that everything would be all right with you and everything would be all right with me, and that this would be a good time. This would be a something that benefited us. That God would protect us from the evil in anything that we do, and give us the benefit of our friendship. And that was so powerful to me. And that's something that I still use to this day. Is like, purify your intentions before you go somewhere. And what does that look like, right? What are you there for? That gives you the idea of, when your assignment is done, when it's time to leave, when you're idly talking there now, and there's nothing else for you to do. So, when the goal is achieved, but also you set your mind in such a way to where your position, right? Where you fit. So we say get in where you fit in, right? But if you don't know where you fit in, you can't get it,
Mm.
right? So you got to know first. It has to come from a place of knowledge, and the knowledge of self is the greatest knowledge. So if you know who you are, whose you are, as you say, then you know your position, and you know that you're constantly on assignment in life. You're always being tested in life. And so when you approach life like that, you can deal better with what comes your way. So I still use that to this day. Before I enter a building, whether I say it in my head or out loud, I'll say a little something if I can remember to. Sometimes you'll be in such a rush to where you forget to. So I'm not gonna say I do that every single time, but I still use that today. I use it just about every single week. So know your position, know your role, and know when to say when. Know when enough is enough. And do you know that your yes means yes and your no means no, right? Have you told
Exactly.
yourself yes and you really meant no, right? Or if you said yes and then you didn't follow through on yourself, right? One thing that I do is I reward and I punish myself. Sounds crazy, right? But who else is gonna do it, right? You think I'm gonna wait for somebody else to do it? No. If I do something that I said I was gonna do, I reward myself. Usually it's with like cookies, hot wings, something, something that I like, right? And if I don't do it, I'll punish myself. I won't go to this event that I wanted to go to. I won't do this or that. I won't purchase this for myself, so that I can keep myself in line, some type of discipline. So at the end of the day, this is discipline. This is ego. This is pushing your ego down and saying, this is the position that I need to play. This is my role. This is what communally I'm built for. Men, we have a physical advantage. Therefore, if you see a woman struggling, especially in your family, your mother, your sister, your daughter, your auntie, be a man, dude. Go over there. If you know your mom out there mowing the lawn, bro, get your butt up and go over there. You quick to call that girl up. Go check on your mama, man. Okay? Know your position. Play your role. I love y'all so much. We about to get this over with so that we can go on about our days and keep these affirmations with us. And so today, on May 16th, the title was Know When to Say When. And the quote from Fannie Lou Hamer, civil rights activist, is enough is enough. Enough is enough. And the affirmation that we read 3 times, one for me, one for you, and one for the person that I trust and know that you're going to invite to the cookout tomorrow morning, 7 a.m., right here, same time, same place. The affirmation is, I know when to say yes and when to say no. Even if you don't, say you do. Plant that seed. I know when to say yes and when to say no. And last time, you said it internally, say it out loud. You said it out loud, scream it inside of your head. I know when to say yes and when to say no. All right, good folks, family, friends, loved ones, we will be right back tomorrow, 7 a.m., same time, same place, with another installment of the In This Season podcast, where we go through daily motivations for African American success by Dennis Kimbro. If you don't have the book, get the book. If you didn't invite anybody today, invite them tomorrow. If you didn't invite anybody to this show, invite them today to tomorrow's show. Go to the YouTube channel. It's In This Season podcast, the letter in This Season podcast. Subscribe, like it, so you get notifications. Tell the algorithm that this is the type of things that you want to see, so you're not getting all that other filth. And you can get some daily motivations and encouragement to help you grow. Right? All right. Love y'all very much. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Take care.
Peace.
Peace.